What's going on, hybrids? Welcome back to the channel. Coach Michael here, hybrid athlete and coach. Today, I'm going to be taking you through some key points that you need to know if you want to strength train leading into your next race, whether it be a 5K, 10K, half marathon, a 1,000,000-kilometer race. If you want to strength train leading into the race, these are some key points that you're going to need to know about strength training as you prepare. Let's not fuck around. Let's dive in. First of all, welcome to my gym. This is where I get most of my training done. Got some more content coming out of here over the next few weeks. But for now, these are the key points that you need to know about strength training leading into a race. This applies to whether or not it's your first race. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're a seasoned runner, but you're just picking up strength training. Maybe you just want to figure out some things that you need to know if you want to lift while going into a 5K, 10K, 15K, 21K, fucking 3 million K, who cares, okay? The principles I'm gonna give you are gonna apply regardless of the length of the race that you're going into. First things first, set a clear goal for your race. Are you aiming for a personal best? Is it your first race? How fit are you? How much work do you need to do in order to achieve that goal? These things are gonna come into play. If you're a beginner, just set yourself a range. It doesn't need to be an exact number. For example, my goal for my first half marathon was to get anywhere between 1:55 and 2 hours and 10 minutes. Once you set a clear goal, it's gonna pave the way for your training over the coming weeks, months, or however long you're giving yourself to prepare. Once you have your goal, look at how many weeks you have until the race. Look at how fit you are currently. How much work are you going to need to do in order to reach that goal that you have set out? If you're unfit, you're obviously going to need to prioritize running a lot more over the coming weeks or months as opposed to lifting. The main thing here is setting a goal that is achievable will allow you to then prepare in the best way possible in the weeks leading up to the race, as it's going to pave the way for your training. So make sure your goal is realistic, first of all, and you've given yourself enough time in order to achieve that goal. Once you have your goal and you know how many weeks you have to prepare, get an understanding of your baseline. This is going to then help you plan your training week. Planning the training week is the next thing you need to prioritize. Are you going to need to run more frequently? Maybe you need to run 4 or 5 days a week in order to get yourself fit enough for the race. Maybe you're already fit and you could get away with 2 or 3 runs in preparation instead. Keep in mind, we're trying to run and lift at the same time here. So planning your training week is going to ensure that you're able to prioritize whatever you need to at that point in time in order to ensure peak performance come race day. We'll need to do some prioritizing of running as you get closer and closer to the race to ensure that your legs are fresh. So this means that running will need to be a priority in the weeks leading up to the race as you get closer to it. Exercise selection in your training week. For me personally, as I have a race coming up, I'm about 6 weeks out. I have removed exercises that require me to lift heavy using a barbell. I've taken out heavy barbell squats and heavy deadlifts primarily, lower body movements in particular. The reason is that a lot of heavy barbell movements in particular really cause a lot of fatigue, and they can take away from my ability to run. Had I been fitter, I would have been able to keep these movements in all the way leading up to the race. However, I've never run this distance before, nor would I say I am fit enough to be able to achieve the goal that I want at this present moment. So I'm putting all my eggs, or as many of my eggs as I can, into the running basket to ensure that my running training sessions can be of utmost quality as they can be. This means pulling back on some of those heavier movements that cause a lot of fatigue in order to ensure I can prioritize the running. Needless to say, I'm still training all body parts and all movements as normal. However, I'm just looking at more cost-effective movements that limit the amount of fatigue I accumulate. At present, for me, I'm using things like single leg and single arm movements. I'm also using a lot of machines and cables where I can, avoiding things like heavy barbell movements or in some cases free weights as well. As you get closer and closer to the race, if you find your weight training sessions continue to leave you really fatigued and diminishing your ability to perform during your running training sessions, I would definitely consider pulling back on the difficulty of my weight training sessions. This does not need to happen all the time, but as your volume and intensity of your running increases as you get closer and closer to race day, you want to be able to perform at your best in regards to your endurance training. I like to ensure stuff I do in the gym is complementing my running performance, not inhibiting it.
Hey man, I hate to interrupt, but I just gotta say that's one of the best weenuses I've ever seen.
In addition to that, I may also pay special attention to areas that are constantly loaded when I run, like the calves, tibs, quads, hamstrings, glutes, hips, even the feet. All of these areas are loaded often, so I might do some extra isolation exercises for these muscle groups in order to ensure they're strong and prepared for the battering that they're getting over the next few weeks with my running training. Lifting volume and intensity. As you get closer to the race, your lifting volume will need to decrease. You may be able to keep the intensity quite high leading up to the race, but I would still recommend decreasing both as you get closer and closer to the race, particularly as your running volume increases dramatically. Your running volume is likely to peak somewhere 2 to 3 weeks away from the race, and this is probably going to be the hardest week of training you have. So ensure that your lifting is not inhibiting your ability to run during that really hard week of training. So as I get closer to the race, I generally prioritize doing less lower body movements. As previously mentioned, I'll decrease the volume and intensity on lower body exercises. However, I usually find I'm able to keep the volume and intensity quite high on upper body exercises, as that doesn't really inhibit my running all that much. However, the week of the race, I will completely remove all weight training and taper as best I can to decrease all of that accumulated fatigue that I've accrued and ensure that I'm ready for race day. Manage your injuries. The final thing, and probably the most important thing, manage your injuries throughout the training process. It doesn't matter if you have a little niggle or a big injury, or make sure you're on top of it from day one. Make sure you're doing whatever you can in the gym to help complement and manage your injuries. If you have to, see a physio, someone that can give you rehabilitation exercises or make recommendations that can therefore complement whatever it is you're doing in terms of training, while also helping you manage those injuries that you have. Alternatively, contact someone like me that's an exercise physiologist that can take you through the whole process and get you ready for race day at the same time. All right, guys, that's a wrap on another video, giving you some points as to what you need to know leading into your next race if you want to continue to strength train or lift weights the whole way through. These are some things that I have learned, and these are some things that I apply to all of my clients and the people I work with, ensuring that they're at peak performance come race day. If you're someone that's struggling to run and lift at the same time and you need that guidance, contact me for coaching. Get the help of someone that can understand what you need. www.coachmichaelsekos.com for coaching, online coaching, anywhere in the world. Other than that, if you've got a race coming up, good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.